And welcome back, everyone. I haven't done a review in a while, so I thought I would do one today. This is a little amplifier, otherwise known as the DG-SE1 single-ended amplifier. And these little units started their life as Magnavox 8600 series console amplifiers. You could find them in older Magnavox Electra and other console amps, and pull these little bitty amps out. They're really small, actually smaller than this chassis is, and you can see a picture here I will show you. And there's a couple in the series, 8601, 8606, that you can modify. And what people have done is kind of followed this forum post that a guy named Dave Gillespie made. And Dave, it was titled Magnavox Flea Power, getting more out of the 8600 series amplifier. And so what Dave basically did was showed you how to take what was a pretty mundane little single-ended amplifier out of a console, and how to upgrade it and make it into kind of what I would consider a world-class single-ended amplifier, and doing so without a lot of cost and or components. So this one's deviated a little bit from that in that someone's put a different power transformer on it. But these are the little transformers that Dave recommends you use to replace the factory transformers on the 8600. The originals were 4 ohm output transformers, and you really want to change that over to 8 ohms. There's quite a few other things I can walk you through here in a minute on the actual conversion process itself. And then somebody actually even put this one in a different chassis and didn't leave it in the original chassis that in the Magnavox chassis. Okay, you can see the original forum post out here on Audio Karma that Dave made. This single thread now is up to 36 pages, and so there's been a lot of people that have followed this, tried this on their own, tweaked and made comments back, and Dave kind of walks you through the whole process here on how to convert one of these. It's a little bit in depth. You got to swap the output transformers. There's some removal of some circuitry that really change the tone controls and whatnot. Changing this, he talks about the impedance mismatch, the big elephant in the room, and so you kind of solve for that with these new output transformers, which by the way come from Antique Electronics Supply. They're pretty dirt cheap, but it's just a great long thread, and there are many other forums out here, so other guys have come along and said, hey, I'm going to make one too, and this is what I've done with mine. So there's a lot of info on the web about it, but at the end of the day, you end up with a single-ended 6BQ5, otherwise known as EL84, tube amplifier being driven by a little 6EU7, or some people replace them with a 12AX7. But they sound amazing. It's 4.5 watts-ish, and pretty darn amazing. So that maybe down the road I'll do a video on how to convert one of these. I've got a couple of these old little units laying around if I can find the time. But I just kind of thought I would show you this one I picked up. Alright, so I found this on Bartertown, which is a section of Audio Karma that you have to subscribe to. It costs you $25 a year. And if you pay that, become a member, you can actually then see this forum. Otherwise, it doesn't show up to you. And it's where a lot of people buy and sell and trade equipment. And I just happened to see this one sit out here for a while, and the price kept coming down on it. And I thought, hey, it's reached a price point that I couldn't even buy the components and build it myself for what it went for. So I went ahead and snagged it. It's got 2 Russian, probably 6N14 PEBs or EVs, which are the Russian 6BQ5s. It's got a groove tubes here, 5 AR4, otherwise known as the GZ34 on it. It has, let me unplug these so I can spin this around. It has a nice triad transformer on it, which would be a probably $100 transformer in and of itself. And it's in a nice little aluminum chassis, and it's got nice RCA jacks and speaker plugs and whatnot. So I was happy to get it because, like I said, I think I got it at a price that I couldn't even have built. I couldn't have bought the parts to have built it myself for that. And then I got it home a year ago, and I really never did anything with it. I stuck it on a shelf, which is pretty typical for me. I buy a lot of stuff and just kind of stash it away. But whoever built it didn't do a bad job at all. It used F&T filter caps here. Nice Hammond choke inside of it. Some looks like Mallory 150 poly coupling caps. Decent wire up job in general. I wouldn't knock anything in here. There's only two things I've found wrong with it thus far that I don't like, and I'm going to fix it before I go much further. One, they just used a regular power switch here, and they used the power feed, coming from the wall, the power line, and they just screwed the terminals here. You can kind of see. Versus actually soldering those. So I'm going to undo those and solder them. And then next up over here, I found this out. This is pretty interesting. Let me turn it on and show you. Okay, here we go. So if you notice, I've got it plugged into my iPhone here, and I got the little connector. Notice when I unplug this, I end up with all kinds of squealing and whining. You should not have that. And I noticed over here, if I grab one of these in connectors and disconnect it, absolutely nothing. But if I grab the other one, it goes into all kind of crazy oscillations. And let me show you what's causing that. Okay, so let me show you what we've got going on here. I've disconnected both RCA jacks at this point in time, and I've connected one of the pins here to ground. And check this out, on the inner or the outer of the RCA jack on this one, it is not grounded to the chassis. This one here, it's grounded to the chassis. So if you remember back, I taught a lot in my single-ended amplifier series. I had a whole video on grounding and how to ground effectively. On this amplifier, someone here has tied all the grounds to a single point right here in the amplifier, except for when they mounted these chassis, one of these is up against the aluminum side, so you got a ground loop happening here, and that's exactly what's causing it. I'll be able to loosen this RCA jack up and kind of reposition it so that this plastic piece in here is keeping this outer part from grounding to the chassis, and I'll guarantee you this issue goes away. Alright, it might be a little hard to see here, but I can show you exactly what was causing the issue. This little tab right here that goes to ground is on the other side of the white wafer here, and on this side it's on this side. So I got to get that straightened out, because right now you're basically causing a ground loop by grounding one RCA jack to the ground here. You're also grounding it over here, and then the other one you're leaving it kind of floating. So with no wires hooked to it, what you want is the outer part of the RCA jack here to not have continuity to the chassis. That way you're pulling all your grounds over to the single point, and you don't have multiple ground points. You don't want to ground them at the chassis and over there as well. End up with a nice ground loop, and you heard what it sounds like. Alright, check it out now. On or off. Kind of on or off. Down here, no great big squealing going on. Much better. Okay, we got it fed by the 8903 at this point. 2.4 volts. Let's see here. 19.0 special. So we're driving it at 3.68 watts right there. And if I take it back local over here on distortion, I'm running at 2% distortion there. If I run point. We're running at less than 1% distortion there at 3 watts on this unit. It's pretty nice and clean, to be honest. Yeah, on the 3582 here, really not much going on in terms of harmonics. Let me drive it just a little bit harder. There we go. You can still see, and I'll drive it really hard. You start to see a little bit there, but I'm driving this thing extremely hard at this point, up to the point I'm getting 9% distortion. I take it back down to normal level, really no harmonics to speak of. I'm feeding it now with a function generator. Beautiful, beautiful, nice clean sine wave. We'll find out where it clips here in a minute. A little bit of ringing, a little bit of slope here on that. That indicates some limited bandwidth on the high end, but just a little bit of overshot. But I'll tell you, it's a pretty darn solid square wave, to be honest, and it scales fairly well too. That's getting on up there. Really happy with the kind of transient response. These are nice, steep, and just a tad bit of ringing on it. But what do you expect for a square wave into an audio system? So anyways, really happy with how these little things sound. I think they're a lot of value for the money and a lot of fun for somebody to kind of buy one, build one, and convert it.
For a nine and a 2 for a 2. Some days it's a lie for the truth. I've searched far and wide, low and high. I'm ready to try, yes, I'm ready to try.
Driving this with a dual 6SN7 SRPP preamp I'm prototyping over here right now. But yeah. Anyway, we're going to call this review a wrap. Nice little amps. If you can find you a little 8601 or whatnot, conversion's not too bad. All the instructions are out there, and a lot of fun in the process. Thanks for watching, everyone.